welcome to a very special edition to our program. Very special welcome to all of you who are watching us on Comcast Channel 23, RCN Channel 83, bnntv.org, and all of you who are watching us on YouTube. That's right, folks, we are now international. We are now global. The program is seen everywhere. Very special welcome to all of you. Well, we're in a very, very interesting election season, folks. September 4th, if you are not registered and you are eligible to be registered and a voter in Boston, you have up until September 4th to register. If you are a U.S. citizen and meet the criteria, if you're over 18 years old and you're a U.S. citizen, you can vote in Boston, but you have to be registered. You have September 4th to do that. And why is that important? That's important because just in about 4 weeks from now, folks, a very special election takes place, the primary here in Boston. And pretty much there'll be two elections, one for mayor, the other for Boston City Council. And a lot of candidates running for those seats, and I'd like to introduce one tonight. Althea Garrison is with us. Althea is running for the nonpartisan Boston City Council at large seat. Althea has been no stranger here to our program. She's joined me many times talking about some of the issues, some of the things that are confronting people of this city. And we're going to talk about some of those issues tonight. Althea, a very special welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me. I would like to thank the John Fahey Show and BNN for having me back again.
Well, we have a lot of things we're going to talk about. In fact, tonight, folks, we'd like to hear from you. 617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. We're cablecasting live right here, BNN TV studios right here in Jamaica Plain, the Roxbury, Boston area. Lots of things happening. Althea, I can't remember a busier election season. We've had, we have a new mayor's race, a lot of people running for mayor, and a lot of people running for city council, both at the at-large and district seat level. You're running at large.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about some of those issues that you hear people talking about, and you're going to address those tonight. We'd like to hear from our audience as well. Althea, today, news coming out of all the news reports. The casino situation here in Boston is going to reap an estimate $32 to $52 million per year. That's estimate. And that's the casino, if it's approved via referendum. Is that going to be this fall?
I don't know yet. They haven't decided when they're going to approve it.
But it will be on a referendum. It will be allowed to
Everett
vote for
had already voted on their casinos.
Okay. How do you feel about the casino? We're talking about the casino in Suffolk Downs, is that right? You think
yes.
that's a win-win situation, no pun intended, a win-win situation for the residents?
I think it is, yes. I think it's a win-win situation.
And people are going to have a chance to vote for that.
Yes.
Now let's shift from East Boston to Boston. And although East Boston is part of Boston as well, what are some of the major issues that you see in just this particular area right here? Some of the major issues that people are confronted with at this point, and they want answers from the candidates.
Well, one of the top issues that I plan to address is the green ordinance. As you know, the City Council passed an ordinance last year where landlords they're going to have to let the inspection service go into their private property. For each apartment they're going to have to pay $25.
So they're going to be assessed a fee. So
yes.
If you're a landlord and you have like 400 units, you're paying $25 per unit. Is that correct? What's that going to do to the person who's renting that unit?
Their rent is going to go up.
Okay.
And that is one of the reasons why I want to repeal that ordinance.
Althea, why is that? Is that just to raise taxes for the city?
Yes. It's a money grab.
Okay.
It's a money grab. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Yeah. And what are we going to do? The voters did not have a chance to do that, did they?
They didn't even know they were passing that ordinance.
This is like a midnight.
They did it like really quietly and
All right, so that's the green ordinance?
They call it the green ordinance.
The green ordinance. And what else is going on as far as, what does a city councilor do? The city councilor goes through and determines and allocates the money for the various areas in the city. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and also constituent services, too.
Yes.
So the green ordinance.
Public safety.
Okay, what's going on with that?
As you know, we have a lot of crime in the city of Boston. especially in minority areas, although it's going on in South Boston too. What I would like to see is the police walking the beats like they did when I first came to Boston 40 years ago.
Okay.
They don't do that now. They just drive by. And that will be one of the issues that I will deal with also.
What about the police on bikes or horses? We don't have that any longer because of budget constraints, but that's a high visibility, or that's a visibility issue too, right?
I still prefer the walking the beat like they used to do. Mm-hmm. People in the neighborhood knew the cops personally, and once they stopped doing that, they don't know who's police in the area or anything.
So we have the green ordinance.
Yes.
Public safety.
Public safety.
And?
Senior citizens and veterans.
And that's something you've always been very close to, those two particular issues. I remember when we were talking last time, a couple of years ago. What are some of the things that senior citizens feel that they need to have addressed right now, that they need an advocate for? I think the green ordinance could be number one.
Affect them.
That could be number one. But what else? And I'm talking about, we don't hear it too much, and I know you probably have heard it, but several years ago, the price of homes in this city, and they still are, quite high. Now, that's subjected to market conditions. We understand that. However, we have a lot of senior citizens that just can't afford to live when their homes have been assessed at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 because their taxes that they're responsible for are predicated on this assessed amount. And they can't live in the city anymore.
Well, that's why they need me in the city council.
Right.
I will have an open door policy, and I will be very strong supporter of the senior
citizens. And
this
is a big, big issue, and I want to talk about that, but we do have a question. Can we have your question, please?
Hi, John. This is Dale.
Hi, Dale.
How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I enjoy your show. Hi, Althea. How you doing?
Oh, hi. Very well, thank you.
It's nice to see you again.
Oh, thank you.
Now, my question is, Althea, should you become a member of City Council, what do you plan to do as far as our schools are concerned? Because right now our schools seem to be in a disarray. And I was wondering what you were going to do as far as our educational system in Boston is concerned, and I'll hang up and hear your response.
Okay.
Okay, Dale, thank you very much. Thank you for that compliment. And Dale asked a good question, and for the benefit of our home audience, the City Council does, even though the Boston School Committee makes a lot of decisions about the school, the City Council, the jurisdiction is under the City Council too. Is that correct? Because that's where the money is coming from to pay the school department.
Yes. Well, K1 and K2, I would like to see more money put in that budget so that every young kid that the parents want them to start off in, I would like to see money there so that they could have a slot. Right now, the slots are all filled up. So that would be one of the issues that I would fight for. Another issue is that I would visit all the schools once a month. I would go out and see what's going on in the schools. A lot of times, the schools are not operating the way they should operate. And I would put pressure on the bureaucrats to make sure kids are learning when they go to school. And I would be there to support them when they need extra money.
You had just said something that's interesting. President Obama had said just a few days ago that he was advocating a policy where schools are directly tied into values. In other words, the school would get so much X amount of funding based on the educational component that the student received. In other words, it's tied together. The financial aid plus the success of the student, if you will. Do you see something like that at this level?
Yes, I would think that would work. We need to go back to values. The kids don't have any values. That's why they are killing each other so much, because they took a lot of stuff out of the schools, and I think a lot of things should be put back into the schools and teach.
So we need a proactive approach.
Yes, we do. We do.
All right. Who's at fault for that?
I would say the school committee and the bureaucrats. Although Tom Menino said, that he was going to improve the school, I don't think the schools have improved that much.
But we need, if children are going to have values, and they're going to have values instilled. It comes from not only the home, it comes from corporate America too.
Yes.
It comes from corporate America too. And it comes from all over.
Yes.
In other words, it just doesn't come from the schools necessarily.
Exactly.
It comes from all over. But the basis is the home.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I think parents should take more control over the kids and not let the kids control them. And I think that would help.
And that's something that we've been looking at, and we've seen pervasive all throughout the United States, is that children don't have the same family values or even structure that they had, like, say, for example, when you and I were young.
Oh, yeah, right. And I think the welfare system did a lot to that, too, because a lot of parents, they don't want to work, but yet still they don't want to be a parent to their kid to make sure they are doing the right thing.
And if they're not responsible,
yes,
then...
exactly. Right.
Well, that's education. So we talked about green ordinance, public safety, the schools,
yep.
And there are several other issues.
Senior
I know.
citizens and veterans, don't forget that.
Senior citizens. And we were talking about, and before that caller, we were talking about the fact that people's homes are assessed because the value of these homes are so high,
yeah.
that how do our senior citizens who may have bought a piece of property 50 years ago at $10,000, they can't be paying a tax on a piece of property that they live in that's assessed at $500,000. They just can't do that.
I would look to try to find some way that the city council would give the seniors a special tax break. If we can do it for the corporations, I think we should be able to do it for our senior citizens and not let inspection or service go in and take a lot of the seniors home like they have been doing.
That sounds something like that. We need to
I know
address
people that lost their homes because they couldn't keep the property up.
Because they can't afford the taxes.
Exactly.
Because of
Exactly.
the fact that that piece of property is assessed at such a high value.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned veterans as well.
Veterans, a lot of veterans are homeless. I would like to make sure they have grants to find a property that they could fix up and put the veterans, instead of letting them lie on the streets, they could have a home that they could live in.
And what other issues as well?
Well, the veterans, a lot of them have a lot of problems too when they come out of the service.
Psychological problems,
yes.
And they need to be addressed. You know, a lot of people out there say, well, this person's homeless and this person doesn't want to work. That's not the case. A lot of people are mentally ill, and that needs to be addressed too.
Right.
Because we're not dealing just necessarily with homelessness.
Right.
We're dealing with other issues as well.
I would be a strong advocate for the veterans, and I would keep active. Believe me, I would be active, very active.
Let's invite our home audience, 617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. Our special guest tonight, Althea Garrison, running for the nonpartisan Boston City Council at Large. Now, when I say nonpartisan, it means that no party designation.
No party, exactly.
Republican, Democrat,
yeah.
Green,
I've been
Socialist.
a Democrat, I've been a Republican, and I'm independent. I've been independent for the last 7 years.
And now it's yes. Nonpartisan.
Yes.
So, I mean, the entire broad base is out there. We can take a look at it. But a lot of the issues out there aren't necessarily partisan issues. They're not partisan issues.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's why the city council is nonpartisan, because a lot of the issues is not a party attached to it.
What's the one thing? Now, I know you're on the street all the time, and you're talking to constituents, and you've had many constituents of your own when you served as a state rep.
Yes.
What are some of the things that they're asking you about?
I think most people are concerned about public safety. They don't feel as though they are safe in their neighborhoods. As you know, a lot of times there's shootings. They might not even be shooting at the person, and they hit someone else that just because they was, in the wrong place at the wrong time.
What are we going to do?
Well, it all boils back down to having a walking beat police force.
So police presence is pretty much a solution to that.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. September 4th, the deadline to register to vote here in Boston. September 24th, and I do have those dates correct, right, Althea?
Yes, you did.
September 24th will be the primary. Now, when is the general election?
The general election is November 5th.
November 5th. So we have a while to go for that. But if you're not registered, folks, you have up until September 4th to register, right?
There are 19 candidates running.
That many?
There are 19 at-large city council candidates that are on the ballot. My position is number 18. So if you start at the bottom, you won't have to go through 18 names. So
how many can they vote for? Is it four?
They can vote for four, but I wouldn't recommend they vote for four, because I think like when you vote for the full amount, you cancel your vote. Okay. Maybe one or two, but not four.
Let's see, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Can we have your question, please?
Hi, John.
Hi.
Hi, Althea. You look pretty patriotic tonight. I was wondering about all these subsidies they give to these building developers and everything. They give them for tax breaks and everything else, and they couldn't have money to use better in the poor communities.
Okay, sir. If you could just there's something about tax breaks. I didn't quite get that. The tax breaks that. Well, we can talk about that. Are tax breaks available in the city for certain things?
Yes, they are. For businesses and small businesses, they do have tax breaks that they could give certain businesses. They use it at their own discretion, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, many people say, and Tom Menino's leaving after 20 years, and I know he's been in office for a while, and I know his health is not the best, and that's most likely one of the contributing factors why he's not going to run. But we have to admit that there's been a lot of development in this city. Now, coming with that, there's the controversy with the BRA, too. Should the BRA be allowed to operate the way it does? Or should the BRA be not necessarily controlled city level by the mayor's office, but should people be allowed to vote, or should it be allowed to be operating the way it does? But nonetheless, there's an enormous amount of development going on in the city right now. Point is, will we be able to sustain and support it if tax breaks aren't given, if people don't want to move into the city because of the educational aspects, public safety is a concern? Do you know what I mean? Yes. I mean, will we be able to support and sustain all of these businesses and units, and housing units which are being built, if we don't have the infrastructure in place?
No, I don't think business will come into Boston if we don't have the infrastructure of the public safety.
And that's what tax breaks.
Exactly, yeah.
Like the Fellines, the Millennium Partners
now.
now.
For, what, 10 or 15 years?
Right.
But they finally is developing that now, yeah.
So the downtown area is being developed.
But the neighborhoods has not been developed. And my focus would be on the neighborhoods. It's kind of like public safety. If you go downtown, you'll see a lot of cops guarding development where they're working at. Those cops should be in the neighborhood, policing these areas and stuff. You know?
And of course, if police get to know the kids too, it might be a different relationship than it may be now. That requires funding for a new police, a new police class, or more number of cadets or whatever. How do we get that?
Well,
that's for the city council, is that correct?
I would like to see, in my flyer, I would like to see the city of Boston be audited. I think you could say that we could find millions and millions of dollars if every city agency, department are audited. I think there's a lot of waste.
Okay.
There's a lot of waste, I believe.
So the audit that's taking place now through the auditing...
It would take place independently of the city.
Okay, all right.
The city wouldn't do it.
So this wouldn't be a city, this would be an independent audit?
No, this would be someone coming in and audit every city agency.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure they could find a lot of money, waste. And
no, we have what? We have a 2.4, if not more now, about 2.4, $2.5 billion budget. That's 1 year operating budget in the city.
Well, under Menino, it went up. It went into the billion under him when he was there.
So we've got an independent audit you think would cut waste?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Where are some of the waste that we should be looking at?
I think inspection of service, public health. I think there's a lot of waste in that area too. Mm-hmm. Political as well as waste.
617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. We're speaking with Althea Garrison. Althea is running for the nonpartisan Boston City Council at-large seat, which means that you would be a city councilor for all of the city, not
Exactly.
representing a specific district.
Yeah.
Now, all of the councilors, regardless of their at-large or if their district, carry pretty much the same weight.
Yes.
We know that.
Yeah.
But it's encompassing of the whole city.
Yes.
So if you become city councilor, your constituents pretty much, I mean, you know, technically speaking, would be the entire city.
Exactly. And the way I would get legislation passed is I would propose the ordinance, and then I would go out into the neighborhoods, every neighborhood, and collect signatures. So with the ordinance, you will have 10,000 or 15,000 signatures to encourage the city council to support what I'm trying to get through.
You know, Althea, I'm going to mention this right now because I've mentioned it years ago on the program, and we had a few answers about why people are this way, but there seems to be, especially during a primary, and I think the primary this year, there'll be more people voting because of the nature of the primary, and there are so many people running, and of course it's a mayoral, an interesting and exciting mayoral race. Right. But there seems to be, because we only get 18, 19, 20% of the population, the electorate, voting during a primary, which is negligible, that's not a whole lot. Why the apathy? Why are people apathetic and say, hey, I'm not going to vote this time because I don't want to? Why is the apathy there, do you think? What are people saying and thinking that they don't want to go out and vote?
Well, a lot of people think that they don't have a voice because most of the time the elected officials doesn't listen to them. They pass legislation like the Boston Ordinance. Right. They don't know anything about it until they
That's
hit
like a
them
midnight signing,
exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So a lot of people are kind of disgusted in the way the whole system works. That's why they've made it harder for me because, like, I try to convince them to go vote and everything. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So the apathy is because they don't have a voice.
Exactly. Exactly.
And when they do have a voice, or when something does go through, it goes through without them
knowing anything about it.
Without them knowing anything about it. Right. How do we correct that?
By voting for independent people like myself.
Right.
That I would have an open door policy. Anyone could come to my office. They wouldn't have to make an appointment. Mm-hmm. When I was a state rep, I had the same policy. I was servicing all over the city. People that didn't even live in my district, I would help and stuff. That's how they do it.
And of course, that would be what you would be doing as a city councilor at large, because you'd
be
your constituency actually is the entire city versus the district, even though everybody pretty much carries the same weight. How does it look right now? I mean, you're out there on the street, you go to the civic meetings, you go to the church groups and everything. What does it look like?
I'm doing a lot of door-to-door, and it looks very good.
It's that personal relationship that's important.
Yes. People know me, and they come up and, wish me well and say, oh, I'm voting for you, and stuff like that. So it looks very good. I continue to do door-to-door, though, in every different areas. Yeah.
One of the factors in running for office is that you have to appeal to everybody.
Yes.
Everybody wants needs something in a particular area. East Boston is as important as Roxbury. Yes. Roxbury is as important as Roslindale. Everybody is pretty much under the same geographic area. But being a city councilor is going to be very interesting for somebody at large, because you're going to be dealing, assuming that you become a city councilor at large, you are going to be dealing with that issue with the
and I
East Boston.
understand that too, because like when I was collecting signatures, people that live in Charlestown don't feel as though they're being represented.
See, and this is why that's going to be a contentious issue. And the reason I bring it up, and the reason we're looking at it relative to what we're talking about, is because when you're a city councilor at large, you look at the entire picture. Yes. Somebody from the Roxbury area wouldn't necessarily have the interests that you would have, or people that live over there would. So you have a direct involvement, or you will have a direct involvement, if you don't already because of your position here, with that casino being built in East Boston.
Well, that's why I would have an open door policy that anyone, wherever they live, could come in and they wouldn't have to make an appointment to see me.
How do you think that that's going to pan out in the area?
You mean the open door policy?
No, the casino in East Boston.
The casino, I think that it will pan out very well, I think. There's a lot of people that are for the casinos.
And one of the two reasons, jobs and infrastructure.
Exactly.
Infrastructure development. Now that 32 million, I saw two figures. First I saw 52 million,
right,
and I saw 32 million. I'm guessing more toward 52 million if it's a gambling establishment, and we're talking about a whole year, because 1,000 a week, a million a week may not be that much for an organization like that. But we're dealing with jobs. We're also dealing with an improved infrastructure to handle all of these different things. Now, when I say jobs, Althea, I can't tell you how many people come up, and they've been on the program, and they've been running for office. I know you and I have talked about it many times. The jobs are the most important thing, especially if you're young.
Exactly.
Especially if you're a teenager, you're 20 years old. Having a job is also a factor in not getting involved in other situations that would not be quite advantageous. Working in the casino, a young person working in a casino would provide a job.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I support it. That's why I support it.
It would also provide, and from city, so it would also provide a built-up infrastructure. Now, that begs the question, if you were city councilor, and I think I know the answer because you and I have talked about this, would so many people from this area, your area, the Boston area, be given preference to work in the casino?
I would hope they would be given preference, because we're
talking about a lot of inner city kids that need jobs here.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the job aspect, you know, the employment aspect is a very important issue. Even going back to education, 617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. We're speaking with Althea Garrison. Althea is running at large, Boston City Council at large, nonpartisan race, and the election is going to be September 24th. Deadline to register to vote is September 4th. And and of course November 5th is the primary.
Exactly, yes.
So chances are, if you vote for Althea, get enough votes, you'll be on the ballot in November.
Right, which I'm
You're hoping for,
begging,
I'm sure.
yes,
Yeah.
people to please.
Now, Althea, we're going to take a break in just a little bit, and I know we have a lot of calls coming in, and I have a lot of questions that I want to talk about too. But when we come back, I'd like you to do something for us. I'd like you to, address our home audience and tell them if they wanted to get involved with your campaign. Because a lot of people might say, hey, I'd like to work for Althea. I feel the way she does on this issue, and I'd like to get involved too. Who would they contact? How would they contact you? Who would they call? And what would they expect to do for you? Mail out letters, go door to door with you, go whatever. Because I think that a person engaged in your campaign be very good, be very helpful for a lot of people wanting to find out a little more about Althea Garrison, the candidate for Boston City Council.
They can call me at 617-407-7661. They can write at my home address, which is 98 Howard Ave, Boston, Mass. 02125. Or they can write to my P.O. Box number, which is P.O. Box 191-395-02119.
Okay, we'll be back in just a few moments with Althea Garrison, candidate for Boston City Council at large. Pleasure to have you with us. We're speaking with Althea Garrison just before the break. We were talking about job creation, public safety, the casino in East Boston, apathetic voters, and the new date of September 4th to register to vote, September 24th to vote, and then November 5th to vote in the general election. So we're talking about all sorts of important things. You know, folks, exercise your civic duty. It's important. I cannot tell you how important it is. Vote. If you are registered to vote, or if you are not registered to vote, register to vote if you meet the criteria. If you are a U.S. citizen and you live in the city, you are 18 or older, register to vote. Go to City Hall and register because it is your duty to vote. You also have a choice of voting on some of the referendum questions that come up. In fact, the casino, Althea, if I'm not mistaken, will that be citywide? People all over the city will be able to vote for that, or is that just in East Boston?
Some people want it citywide, but others want it.
So it's still a contentious issue at this point right now? So people are going to be able to vote, perhaps, citywide for this, within a short time. Yeah. And it's important to vote because your voice is heard through that process. We talk about what kind of a government do we live in, or do we live under? We actually live under a republic. We talk about a democracy and being a Democrat, being a democratic form of government, which is true. We actually live under a Republican form of government. Now, let me explain what that means, folks. That means that we vote for other people to vote for us. Right, Althea?
Exactly.
We vote for people to represent us so that they vote, and we hope, because we're their constituents, and we vote for them and we put them in office, that they will vote on issues that we feel strongly about. And that's where
I come in.
You come in.
Yes.
Because you want to vote for people and represent people and do things that people want to do in city government.
Yes.
Which you have done in state government,
incidentally.
One of the things that we didn't talk about, we kind of sort of talked about job development, job creation. And a couple of years ago, there was a very contentious issue here in Boston with Walmart. Is that correct?
Oh, that is correct.
If I remember, the Walmart issue is the store itself is not allowed to open here because of a union versus non-union affiliation. Is that correct? In other words, people have to be paid a certain salary or whatever before it's allowed to open here. Maybe you can give us a little more information about that.
Well, I am for bringing a Walmart to the city of Boston.
Right.
I'm for that. Not every job is unionized, although when I was a state legislator, I had 100% voting record for unions. Mm-hmm. Not every job is a union job. Okay. So I wouldn't ban them from the city of Boston because they're not union.
No, and the point here is that at least it would be a store coming in here, a job for people, a job for people. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And where do we stand on that now? Is that like in process, or people? Is that still out there on the table?
I think Walmart just gave up
really?
While the mayor, because the mayor was strongly against that.
So you have strong union support too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's, of course, we live in an era where so many people now work for unions,
exactly.
And don't work for unions, so we have to look at the whole picture. So job creations is particularly paramount here. Okay.
Yes.
What other things?
Cutting property tax. I would like to cut property tax by 15%.
Right now it's about $13 per thousand, right? 14 per thousand. So if we cut it by 15%,
there's no reason why property tax should go up every year.
Okay.
The city council does not vote to cut property tax. They constantly vote to increase residents' property tax.
Okay, and this is what Althea and I were talking about, and what you were talking about specifically. Yeah. When you increase property tax, even though, folks, we talk about, approximately $13 per thousand, right? And that's residential, that's not corporate, that's not business. So we talk about $13 per thousand. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of money. But if you are a person who is on limited income and live in a fairly decent house, perhaps that your family bought, and is now assessed at $350,000, you're paying some serious money. Now, you're getting a residential exemption and probably an elderly exemption. But nonetheless, you are paying on property that's assessed at fair market rate, fair market value. Is that correct, Althea?
That is correct.
So what happens, that person moves away because they can't afford that. Somebody comes in and develops the property, and then the property values go up even more, and their neighbor has to pay more. So it's like a vicious cycle here. The people that are getting hurt are the people that can't pay it because they're on a limited income, and because the property taxes increase, their salary, their little paychecks aren't increasing. What are we going to do about that?
Well, if I'm on the city council, that is another issue that I would be fighting to make sure.
And now that's something the city council has direct control over. Is that correct?
Exactly. I don't understand why they vote to increase it every year. You would think that they would think that the voters and the property taxpayers deserve a break sometimes. They never give them a break.
All right, okay, and we do have a question. Can we have your question, please?
No, I don't have a question. I have a happy hello to John and Althea, and I just want to let her know I've already voted for the casino in East Boston. If she needs my help, I'll do anything to help.
Oh, thanks, Helen. Helen watches the show all the time and
all the time.
Is a fan of the program. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the show.
Okay. And tell her if she needs any support from me, I'm willing.
Thank you, Helen. Well, that's,
all right.
That's good.
I have her number here.
Okay.
I took her number down.
Okay.
All right.
And that's good because people all over the city might be saying, you know, Althea strikes a chord here. We know what she's talking about, and even though, you know, we may not understand the whole process here, at least if we work for her and get her in there, you know, maybe it'll help us. Yeah. Maybe it'll reduce this if we're able to do this. You're only one person now.
Yeah, exactly.
You're only one person, but that's sometimes all that's needed.
Right.
That's all that's needed. And so the reduction of property tax. Mm-hmm. What else? And you know, I
public
think public safety. Can I mention something about that property tax?